it's about getting into schools and talking to young people, because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hey Jamie, do you like being cozy?
I do.
And do you like staying cozy?
I like that even more.
Then just heading over to www.staycozyclothing.com,
where you can find hoodies, tees, sweaters, and much, much more.
And just enter the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
And make sure you follow them on the Instagram at Stay Cozy Clothing to keep up to date with all the new designs.
Remember, guys, that's the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And now back to this week's episode.
Hi everybody, it's Paul Rugg, the voice of Freakazoid, and you're listening to the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie. Hello!
Well, invite people over to the house with my ass, boys. Welcome to hashtag WBW. Way Back Wednesday. And these are the Chronicles of Melissa Cross. Why Melissa this week, Jamie?
Well, this Friday coming, we have one of the directors from the Bloodstock Open Air Festival.
Oh, yes, we do.
So why don't we speak to a lady who has no doubt worked with several of the people that have played on those hallowed grounds of Bloodstock. She's Melissa Cross, the vocal coach. Ah, what a wonderful woman she is.
Yeah, this was great. This interview was so much fun. It was one of those where it's like, I don't want this to really end, but you can't really have a podcast that's 7 hours long.
No, not really.
So the story she told about Randy Blyth, Corey Taylor, Jesse from Killswitch Engage, you know, the bands that the people she's coached, you know, and Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, going to David Draiman's wedding. You know,
yeah.
Just nuts. Just
mental.
Absolutely nuts. I was obviously getting the video ready for this, and I found our original airing of when we originally put this out there. And in the intro to that, I'm going, Melissa, please adopt us, because we just loved this woman so much.
She was great. Just, you know, the fact that she could teach people how to scream properly is just magnificent. We have to also thank Lena, because obviously we interviewed Lena Scissorhands, and yes, Melissa is, of course, Lena's vocal coach, which is how we discovered this wonderful human. And you just got to listen to it for the stories more than anything else. She's just fantastic. Very eccentric is what I like about her as well.
Absolutely.
And hopefully she'll just keep going. She'll just keep going until she can go no more.
And what I love about this as well is when we originally released this, we had a friend of ours who's a singer from a metal band who was like, I've actually listened to this, so I'm going to take on some of her techniques. I'm going to look at her program, look at the Zen of Screaming, which is her program, look it up. It's amazing. So it's just enjoy this one, people. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and hopefully we can speak to her again someday. That would be glorious, my friend.
It really would.
Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Any of those words that are final?
Melissa, thank you so much for doing this. And again, please adopt us. The options are still there.
Melissa, thank you so much for taking the time out to sit and chat with us. We really, really enjoyed it, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Chronicles of Melissa Cross.
Hi.
There she is.
Hello, there she is.
Hello.
How are you?
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you
Yeah.
beautifully. Like,
Good.
just spot on.
Spot on. Yeah. If I pick up your accent, it's not intentional. I lived there for many years. I'm a dual citizen, and it drives me crazy. But when I hear you speak, I'm likely to like blend, and I can't help it. So please don't think I'm making fun of you. If something comes out that sounds like not American, I'm not doing it on purpose.
It's absolutely fine. I mean, I want to take in slight. No, I'm joking. I don't get offended by anything. It's absolutely fine. It's like, I'm posh all of a sudden. What's going on here?
I'm from Birmingham. My accent.
Okay, so I went to acting school at the Bristol of Vic for like 4 years, and I learned all of the dialects. I learned all of them. Like, tell me what you want. Celtic to the Rangers, and I could do Irish. I could do all of it. And I lived in Bristol right now, so I taught like lager and lime like that. Like all of it.
That's phenomenal. Just answer every question in a different accent each time.
I turn it right on in and out. My dad is from Scotland, so what's the matter? You got eggs and chips, I don't.
Absolutely beautiful. Whereabouts is he from?
I was born in Texas.
Ah, nice. Whereabouts? Where's your dad from?
My dad's from Dundee.
Ah, that's a shame. No, I'm joking.
It is a shame, isn't it?
I think they're all outside naked fighting, aren't they?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm good at voicey things. I'm really good at voice. I've got a thing about the voice. What it does, how it sounds, how it works. It's my thing.
So it's good in your profession, I suppose.
I was going to say, definitely in the right profession then.
Yeah. Jamie, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. I was going to.
Me.
Right, I'm just going to do a little intro thing that I like to do, and then we'll just crack on. If that's all right with you? Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a hell of a guest for you this week. In rock music, we have many men and women who are given the title of rock god or goddess, a title given in modern music to people like Simon Neil, Lizzie Hale, Jeremy McKinnon, Corey Taylor. But who do these people go to when they need help? That's where this week's guest comes in. A woman that seems to have helped every metal singer you could possibly think of, including two people I know personally. So whether it be through one-on-one sessions or her amazing Zen of Screaming workshops, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chronicles, Melissa Cross.
Hey.
No pressure or anything.
Not at all.
Okay.
I'll lay it on thick.
I like to big people up in the intros.
It's a hell of an intro, right? Who do
So,
you know that I helped? Who do you know that I helped?
how has lockdown been for you?
Oh, actually, it's not a problem. I actually like it.
Really?
I miss going to shows. I really miss going to shows. That's about killing me. But the business is fine. Everybody's just picking up, online stuff, and everybody's working on a new style. I'm working with Rob Flynn, who started a Facebook Live thing, and he's doing acoustic stuff. So he's becoming more of a crooner. He's got a fantastic voice. Just the same thing as like David Draiman from Disturbed. He was quite brutal most of the time, and now he uses all of it. He uses all of his voice. He uses the legit voice. He uses the screamy voice, and it's excellent. And so I like this idea of allowing former only screamers and only extreme sounding vocalists to like explore all the textures in their voice and not give any credence to genre or do this because it's cool or it goes to this tribe, because I think the screaming thing, it can be saturating, like everybody's doing it. And it is a sound that can be really unique to a person, but not everybody does it in their own unique way. They kind of phone it in, or they just try to copy somebody else, and it kind of loses the point. So I think it's really great to like use all of your voice and not just what you think sounds cool.
I mean, I made the names that you've just dropped then, which is like, oh, this is going to be phenomenal.
Well, she's like, have a name. Have a name.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you all how to do it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Count us in.
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
Did you manage to teach yourself anything new, or did you like learn anything or study anything or do anything different whilst being locked away?
Actually, I helped other people do that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It just so happens that events took place that, personally, I haven't sung or performed for a long time, just because it's just, I teach all the time, and that's a kind of performance. But in terms of, gigging and stuff like that, it's just not part of my dance card anymore, really. Yeah. But I sang at my mother's funeral recently, right? And I wasn't sure what was going to come out, because it's been such a long time since I've used my performing voice. So I just kind of threw caution to the wind and did it, and it was all there. So
that's beautiful.
I learned I can still sing. Isn't that great? I'm a voice teacher, and I can still sing. I was actually wondering if I could or not, because I know I can do exercises, but
was it one of those things where you started and were like, I'm not sure, and you're like, oh, amazing, and then went for it?
It just came right out. It just came right out. It must have been like the spirit of my mother, not wanting to embarrass her. Wanting me to like embarrass her in front of her friends. Too much information.
Yeah. I'm very sorry.
So what was that? I didn't hear you.
I just said I'm very, very sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It was it's a rite of passage, I believe. So I'm told. So process. It's like everything else. Hate that word, process. Don't you?
Yeah.
I hate the word potential, and I hate the word process.
All the P's.
The P words.
Yeah, damn these P words.
So take us back to the beginning. Where did all this begin for you in regards to becoming a vocal coach? Obviously, you said you used to be a performer. How did this transition happen?
Because I found out that I didn't want to do anything except what I loved. I just made that choice because I've been a rocker my whole life. I've been in bands my whole life. And, but in order to when you do original music, you have to make a living. And so I had day jobs, and the office was such a grind that I decided that I want to die doing what I love no matter what. So I went down into the subway and started singing in the subway because I just couldn't stand going to an office anymore. And this lady came by, and I was just busking. I mean, I used to busk at Leicester Square.
Oh, damn, no way. That's awesome.
So busking has always been something I love. The underground is like kind of my church,
Yeah.
In between, wine bars and everything else, I could just go down and just yell and get some money. Anyway, somebody stopped by and said, "Will you teach me how to do that?" And I said, "Sure," because I needed, why not? And I didn't realize how much I knew, because I've studied voice since I was a child, but it was classical voice. And I wasn't singing classical music, but I knew enough technically about the voice that when I started teaching, there was stuff that was coming out of me that I didn't even know that I knew. And I really liked it. And it kind of took over because it had such an impact on such a long-lasting impact on the person that I did it with. It was like I gave them this ability to do something that they've always wanted to do, and I found that I was good at it. And I was like, well, this is okay. Now I can eat chocolate. I don't have to, fit into that dress. I can do whatever I wear, whatever I want. Go, you know, I don't have to like go out with makeup. You know, I could just like be a teacher until I'm 100 years old, and I like it. I like it, and I never, you know, it's like sometimes I had like an gig or a meh gig because, you know, not enough people showed up, or the club owner didn't sell enough alcohol, or whatever, problem. And it was just like such a grind. And it's getting old too. I mean, that's the other thing, is that, you know, how long are you gonna do it? I mean, I have a long history, like, you know, way back when I was in my early 20s. I was one of those next big things, you know, where all the record companies are, you know, I was the thing, and I completely blew it. I had a terrible drug problem, and I just blew everything out of the water just by being so out of it, and just, you know, and so I was kind of blacklisted, but really I blacklisted myself. So I had this kind of like, oh, I could have been a contender kind of thing going on, which is so stupid because it was all baggage in my head, you know. But the thing is, I felt insecure. I didn't have that, you know, once I got, you know, clean, sober, I didn't have that, you know. I used to have this like, you know, Susie at the Banshees kind of mystique kind of thing, and that just went out the window because I was just so dead honest, you know, girl next door. I've got an issue, you know, like I was too confessional, and confessional wasn't in style yet. So it was just all like the pieces moved in a certain way that I couldn't imagine wanting to be alive if I wasn't like a rock star. That was it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the fucking best. You know, I had all that bravado, and I sort of cleared out any opportunities that came by because I had this kind of narrow-minded idea of what I was supposed to do. And, you know, thank God, old age, it makes you kind of get weary of putting yourself through problems and obstacles. So, you know, it was funny. Everything kind of fell into place. Like I went into the office of Seymour Stein. And I was already like late 30s. I didn't look late 30s, but I was late 30s. And I was in there because someone had said, you got to hear this girl's songs. I'm singing the songs. And he says, excuse me, your songs are really great, but I got to tell you something. You're too old. And I was like, fuck.
Thanks.
I didn't say fuck you, right? You know, I said fuck. But the thing is that when I went to acting college, I auditioned for like RADA, Central School, you know, all the big ones, right? And the guy at Central School said, Miss Murray, your destiny lies in teaching, you know. And that I almost said, fuck you. Because this guy was telling me that, you know, I'm a teacher. I'm not an actress. I'm not a performer. I was livid. Yeah. But he was right. You know, there was something that he saw that probably reminded him of a teacher or whatever. And I did become a teacher. He was right. You know, so all these things kind of come to pass. And I'm so glad because I have the coolest job in the world.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
The coolest job in the world. Oh, the people I get to hang out with are the best people in the world. Metal people are the best people in the world.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You know why? You know why? Because it's just like I got into music in the late 60s. I was 13 in 1968. Janis Joplin was my hero. Joni Mitchell was my hero. And that's why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, because they were making a difference in the Vietnam War, and like just total aesthetics, ethics, everything changed. And I was a big like proponent of that. And metal is just like that. So when I first saw it, when I was up in the balcony, and it was a show in the late 90s with Megadeth and Slayer and the Bad Brains. And I'm up in the balcony and I'm seeing this sea of kids moshing. I'd never seen moshing before. I'd never seen it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's happening again. In fact, it's always been happening, but I just wasn't around. But, you know, it's like it's still here. Like the spirit in which I started this is still here. And God, I wish I could be a part of it, but I'm too old. Because I don't want to be a poser. And then within 2 weeks, I got the phone call from a producer in Connecticut who said he was trying to get these kids through a recording session, but he couldn't because they kept, coughing blood. And I said, sure, I'll take a look. And he brought in Jesse Leach before Kill Switch was ever signed. This is way back, late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
And I was, instead of saying, oh, just stop doing that. You can't do that and have a career. You're going to ruin your voice. I said, I'll bet I can figure this out. I'll bet, because I'd already been teaching for about 12 years. And, I got down into voice science big time. Like I'm a big science geek. Even though the science doesn't really help you perform, it definitely helps you teach. And I had to recover from a vocal injury that I had gotten. Well, that's another really good story. But what I teach is based on my recovery from singing in a punk band. Like I was in punk bands like the first time around in the 70s, so this is like having been classically trained. I wanted to make this sound. I wanted the exact sound of, it was an AC/DC song. I can't even remember what it was, but I wanted to make this exact sound in this song, and I did it, and I practically killed myself doing it, and I got an injury. And the process by which I recovered is the way that I found out like the missing link between vocal technique and non-classical music.
Yeah.
Because it was about voice function as opposed to what the sound of the genre was. So I always would study voice imitating the teacher. She do this, I do this. I would do it like imitating, but I didn't know what was really going on until I recovered with a really good speech therapist. And so the resonating strategy was the same for the recovery that it is for classical music. So I found that you can speak with that same resonating strategy that an opera singer uses, but it doesn't sound like opera. It sounds good. So I was like, aha. So that's how I developed the technique that I teach. And then, so when the screaming thing came, I had already been working on Janice my entire life. I already knew part of how to do that. I got injured doing it, but I figured it out. So I was kind of like the perfect person for the job. It just came.
Incredible.
Amazing.
My mind just went.
I love it. Love it. I love it. I love being thanked by people like, the band would have broken up if you hadn't come in. We had to cancel Wembley. We were headlining Wembley. I had no voice. You saved me. I love that. I also love to sing, but, I love that more because that actually makes a big difference,
Yeah, it's almost like when you're watching bands live and stuff, when they record stuff, you're just like, well, that's because of me. Like that must be an unbelievable feeling.
It is. It's amazing. It's really it's very affirming,
Beautiful.
So when you started, was the focus on metal music when you started with like the Zen of Screaming and stuff, or did you just sort of fall into with metal music? Because obviously you said you were into punk and wanted to start off with.
Oh, okay. So back then, punk was punk and metal was metal. There was, now everything's kind of like cross-collateralized and, cross-pollinated. But there were tribal kind of sounds, like, the black metal, death metal had this like woof. And then, like metalcore had this like, shah, they had like these little tribal noises. It was very partitioned.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. But the way that, wait, what was your original question? Because that's what I was going to answer. Oh yeah, I know what it was. You see, the metal community is super small. Everybody knows everybody. It's very friendly. So Jesse told Brian Fair from Shadows Fall. Brian Fair from Shadows Fall told Jamie Josta from Hatebreed, but he never showed up, but he told everybody that he was coming. So I had this like immediately had about 12 people that were told that I'd figured it out. And they all came, and in the beginning I was so nervous that it wasn't going to come out right because I just kind of figured it out. So I had these like really like tatted up, inked up, like giant, like really brutal looking guys walking down the hall. And I was like, oh God, I hope I do this right. Because I'm this little lady, you know, this little old school teacher lady saying, okay, come in, Sonny, let me see you, you know. It's going, you know. So, you know, it worked. I mean, in no time, in less than a year, I had more people that I could possibly teach because that movement was very, very healthy and very strong, and it needed sustainability. And it wasn't about just doing shows on the weekend anymore. It was about doing shows like now you got to like do 25 shows a month for 5 to 8 years before you're a dot on the map. So it needed sustainability. So I like to think of myself as having something to do with just the sustainability of the genre itself.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. To be fair, what you're saying, like with all these metal people, just when you mentioned the guy from Shadows Fall, I'm like, that guy is huge, and his dreads are ridiculous as well. I could only imagine this guy walking towards you, be like, "Hello."
Or the guy, Byron from God Forbid, that was. Yeah, like this guy is like massive, right? He looks like, brick shit house coming down. I was like, and this is the sweetest man. These are the most gentle, polite, introverted, self-effacing people. They don't look like they don't act like that looks. And so I became more familiar with even the purity of music itself through this, journey. Because my first concert was The Who.
Oh,
when I was 11, right? It was before Tommy. This was way back. I saw them again in the UK at Swansea Football Club. And there was a prison. And as soon as they did Baba O'Reilly, right? And then the whole prison went, like it just shook. Like these are historic moments that I remember in my life. And I was reliving them again in the metal world. I was like really excited about that togetherness of the metal world. I'm still in love with it. I still have deep respect for metal. So
what I love about you is the fact that your work, like this, reading interviews and stuff like that, you've legitimized metal singing as an art form instead of someone just, screaming nonsense, which, let's be honest, is a belief most people have about rock music. And, you've had, you said you're a fan of rock and metal, like early punk and stuff like that. Were you a fan of the hardcore screaming stuff before getting into this line of work, or was it something you became a fan of through your work?
Okay, so here, that's my own, when I got sober, like there was this transition that I made from my electric guitar to my acoustic guitar. So I became much more of a like singer-songwriter. I call it issue rock,
That's amazing.
That's for everyone. From now on.
Right? And I was doing that for about 5 or 6 years in a confessional kind of thing. And then I got sick of that. And by the time I got sick, see, it's all like my musical tastes kind of shifted during that acoustic period. But I always had an acoustic thing because I like Ralph McTell. I liked, Nick Drake. I like, Richard Thompson. I love Fairport Convention. I've always had that 60s kind of folk, Joni Mitchell. But I also have this, I love Jimi Hendrix and Janis. Like that was, both of those things were part of me, but I shifted into the acoustic thing. And then I got sick of the issue rock and got back into my electric guitar and writing with electric guitar, right? But all that stuff, like when I was like the next big thing, I was the next big thing in terms of like new wave, because that metal thing kind of departed from new wave. New wave was like, you know, mods and punk and metal became like rockers. Like it was just, it divided. So there was this grunge thing, which was really pop music compared to, you know, what was going on in the clubs. You know, the screaming thing was going on in the clubs. They were, you know, Kurt Cobain had distortion in his voice, but he didn't have pure screaming. It wasn't like non-melodic. It was always melodic. So I stayed melodic for a very long time until somebody asked me. I had not really been exposed to that screaming thing, except one time I heard it on the radio. This is another really, this is the story. I have so many stories. I'm sorry. It's like,
it's all good. Love about
when
the show.
I did this showcase, and 3 major labels were all there at this showcase. And it was like, it wasn't called Sony then, it was called Columbia, Warner Brothers, and this label called Chrysalis, which had Billy Idol and Pat Benatar and Divinyls, and right, they were all there, and I bombed so badly that I went into exile. And when I was in exile in Connecticut, I heard on late night radio that the left of the dial, this screaming, and I was like, what is that? What's going on? And I kind of saw these like squatter kids in the hardcore thing. Like I saw this on the edge, but it didn't seem to relate to me until I saw it, you know, that Megadeth, you know, Slayer concert. I was like, oh, because, you know, there was Pantera, there was Metallica, but they still had melodic stuff. Like I wasn't, you know, and Selma was still singing melodies. You know, that when Jesse from Killswitch came, there were parts that were all screamed. There was no melody. And that was brand new to me, but I loved it. I loved it because that was like taking it to a whole nother level of theatricality, of expression. But, you know, it wasn't going to be able to stick around if you couldn't figure out how to do that every night. So I figured it out. I figured out how to imitate it because I'm a good mimic, like I said in the beginning. Yeah. I'm a good mimic. And I went to the doctor's office and had him put the camera down my throat. And I took a look at what was going on. And that's how I figured it out. So.
So clever.
Wow.
That's what I did. I'm still doing those experiments with the cameras. Now I'm using high speed, you know, imaging so that you can see it in slow motion. So, you know, I really like to pioneer like ways in which it's not about volume. That was the big wake up call, is that because human perception, hearing wise, is more sensitive at a certain frequency level, which you learn, you know, as an engineer when you're doing the Fletcher-Munson curve. There's a very high frequency that is much louder to humans than other lower frequencies. And the voice can access that only by doing a certain thing. And you can't hear that note like a note on the piano. It's something that it's an overtone, and it's so high that it's off the piano, way up there. But by accessing a certain resonating strategy in the vocal tract, right, it's louder just by this resonating space, not by the effort. So I had to replace overtones instead of overuse, because the basic premise, you know, most metal people think that the more effort and the more intense they feel the feeling, the better the sound. And that is not right. Wow. That is how they get hurt, because effort equals quality, but that's very wrong. Because if you effort, you can't get that resonance because the space closes. So if you make the sound of like a car, if you go, you hear that squealy thing?
Yeah.
That is, when that hits a microphone, that is huge, but it's not that loud when I do it. It's just that the microphone picks up that bouquet of overtones, and that frequency sits over that double kick, that bass, those double guitars, it sits up there. It doesn't compete with the low and the mids of the band. So you can scream your head off as loud as you can, and you still will not compete with a double kick and a bass. It's not possible, because unless you do another frequency that is so far away from that, you won't be heard, because it cancels itself out.
That's fascinating.
I know. I'm just like, what?
Because you do, with metal singing, you do think it's about volume. Like, as a complete amateur just listening to it, you would think it's about volume.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But it's not about volume. It's about frequency range.
So
yeah.
Who are you're probably going to say everyone. Who are the people you love working with the most? Or is it just everybody generally?
Well, I love everybody for a different reason. So
Yeah.
I don't have one piece of criteria that, makes one person better than another, but there are some really compelling people. In fact, all of them are very compelling. I would say that the reason that these people are so successful is because they are very much themselves, and they're fabulous people, and they're smart and clever and talented. Like I like working with John Dyer Baisley from Baroness a lot.
Yeah.
I like working with Spencer Chamberlain from Under Oath. I like working with Randy Blyth from Lamb of God. I love working with Jesse Leach. I love working with Corey Taylor, because these are great people. Their voices are the way they are because the soul is the way it is.
Yeah.
That's what having a great voice is, uncovering the unique voice of a great soul. It's not about painting on sounds, although, that resonance thing that just helps me as a teacher with a throat shape. If I go, if I do that kind of screaming that's like vomiting, right? I have less of a capability of getting that resonance. So you want to not scream the same way through the whole song. You have to scream from your heart. And as a teacher, I set up parameters of what's going to work frequency-wise and what's not going to work. Because everybody has a different voice. Some people are baritone, some people are tenor, some people have smaller vocal folds or longer ones. Like the deeper or bigger the voice, the longer the vocal tract, right? The fatter the vocal folds. Those guys can get away with that, throw up kind of, I call it throw up technique because it involves a gag. It involves that's not great for sopranos. It's really hard to do a show that's not really built for your voice, but you can still make a really badass sound with whatever you've got. You just got to know what the strategy is that's best for you. But it comes from these great souls. It comes from the soul.
That's beautiful.
And the harder the life, the better. I'm telling you, the people that suffered the most are the best, because they got nothing to lose. They're like complete toast. I'm toasted. I'm dead already. You can't kill me. Here it is. Those are the best performers.
That's incredible.
So on your site, you possibly have the longest list of clients of people you've worked with I've ever seen on any website in the history of the world. But when I was reading through it, I was amazed to see it wasn't just modern artists. Like you were talking before, how you saw Megadeth and Slayer, and Dave Mustaine and Tom Araya are on that list. So do these people who've been doing it for quite some time come to you to learn new techniques, or is it more of a way to preserve their voice after they've been doing this for so many years?
It's usually, like with Tom Araya, it was a situation where he had some surgery for, there is this, it may not be the exact, there are definite procedures that are common to metal musicians, and one of them is the neck surgery for headbanging. And there's a neurological problem, and many people have had this problem, where after years and years and years of doing this, right, it starts to have, make problems in the fingers and the hands and neck and pain and entrapment and all that stuff. So there was a surgical procedure that scared him, and he felt like he couldn't scream anymore. And basically, that was just all about, dude, there's nothing wrong with you. They didn't go anywhere near your vocal folds, and you have more now because you're older, so don't worry about it. It could be just something, just one incident like that. Like, I didn't really teach Tom Array anything. I just told him that he had nothing to worry about. You know, that's important for someone who's been off the road for a couple of years and comes back on and feels like the surgeon's knife might have gotten too close. But I didn't really teach him anything. I just reminded him of what he's capable of. You know, I put together like a whole bouquet of like screams that he had done, you know, and said, this is an F sharp, and look at this one, and look at, you could still do this. You got this, you know. And I found out that he used to be a respiratory therapist as a day job. I said, dude, you know how to do this. Like, just, you know, relax.
Shut up and get on with it.
just relax. You know, and sometimes, you know, like the thing about with oh, I'm not supposed to talk about that. Okay, sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Yeah.
Non-disclosure on that one. But anyway, there's like a lot of times, sometimes it's just one thing. Like with Corey, he got sick, and it was right after the Subliminal Verses, during the Subliminal Verses tour. In that record, he was asked to do a lot more singing in Slipknot, right? So there was this skill that was scream, sing, all within a short period of time. And he got sick, like had a bad cold. So that was when I got brought on. Like Slipknot was already like huge before Corey Taylor came. But because he got a hemorrhage, and I was there to help him through that injury. And I also taught him how to make a better transition. You know, again, it's about not efforting. And so I teach people how to stop with the effort equals quality thing and do the, you know, the moving parts. Like a class with me is not screaming the whole time. A class with me is building the moving parts of the mechanism, of the breath pressure, of the shape of the back of the throat, of the function at the level of the vocal folds. You know, what are the vocal folds making a note by doing this, or is it going, or is it doing, like which one? Is it doing? Yeah. See, there's different things going on there, and by knowing all of those things, you get this ability to recall it when you feel it, and that's a connection that is holy. You know, to intend something, to mean something, is the way that your voice works. If I go, oh my God, you know, I didn't choreograph, duh, duh, duh. I just felt something, and it was straight out of the box, pure. And that is very important for a performer. That authenticity is the holy connection. So by learning mechanical things and awarenesses, you feel something and you can do it without thinking about it. And that's what I do. It's just about awareness.
It's just incredible, the passion in your voice, the way you're talking about what you do. It's just, I'm so like glued, like I'm forgetting my questions.
That's okay. I love it. I just think it's fascinating because it's one of my favorite phrases is organized chaos. I really like the idea of chaos, the feeling of chaos, but the excellence of form. You know, the quality and the excellence of like a very succinct and efficient form of delivering something that seems like chaos, but actually it's not. I just love that kind of paradoxical kind of thing. Like screaming is not loud. That's a great paradox. It's not about volume. I love those paradoxes. I just love that about life, you know. Like it's not what it seems. It's never what it seems.
Yeah, this is just, I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away.
Do you think Do you think anyone could learn to sing, or is it something you need to have that natural talent for that can just be enhanced and the skills owned?
I think that, are you talking about singing melody or are you talking about screaming?
Either. Go for it. Why not?
Well, okay. So really, both of those, in terms of non-classical music, are acting gigs. It's an acting gig. So if you are a great performer is not somebody who goes on and tries to sound like something. A great performer is someone who comes on and sounds exactly what they mean, because they have to go to that feeling in order to get the audience to identify with the feeling that they've had also, and make that connection with the sound and what they see. And that's more of an acting thing. It's not about the quality or isolating the sound of the voice, although there are some things that can make the sound of the voice very compelling. And that has to do with like resonance and technical things. But the issue is, can I do it? Can I act and make it compelling? Because just about any sound can be compelling. Bob Dylan did not have a really pleasant sounding voice, but he was still captivating. Same with Tom Waits, or like, you could like love any voice because there's something about it that just gets you.
Yeah.
And then my job is to make that sustainable, to make that voice as good of itself that it can be. It's not to like paint the sound on there. Now, when you have musical notes and there's pitch matching involved, some people are better than that than others, just neurologically. So those people would have more work to do, but they can learn it. Whether it comes off, off the top of their head like it did with Whitney Houston or Celine Dion, who knows, right? But you can work on all of these things. These things can be taught. Whether they are enjoyable. That's the important thing, is that if you don't love that singing that you're doing, if you're doing it because you are like, one of those people that can only be satisfied with the love of a million strangers for whatever reason, that bites you, because there's never enough of that. If you are up there to try, and we all started that way. And anyone who says otherwise, any guy that says he got in a band for any other reason than to get girls is lying. Just like I knew that I couldn't get a boyfriend being any other. I mean, the girls that could sing and play guitar, they didn't have to be pretty. They were just cool. That's why I picked up a guitar, because I wasn't like the cheerleader or like the most popular girl. But there was this other like kind of like, I call them spooky chicks. I was a spooky chick, black, dark, the guitar made it, acceptable, And so that was needing mass love, That's why I got good at it, because I needed more. But the thing is that there's never enough, because more and more and more, it's still not coming, because I'm not able to receive it. That's the problem. It's not how many people are not there. It's how I can't. That's what that's about. So sometimes the hard work it takes to survive in the music business is much too hard for people that don't have the right reason for it.
Yeah.
So, it could be, it's a tough life. But I say to people, if you could do anything else, do it. If there's anything that you can do for a living except front a band, do that.
Yeah.
Because you're meant to be in it if there's no possibility of anything else.
I like that.
Whether that's true or not, but if you believe that, then that's why you have to do it. And because you love it, because that's what you're supposed to do. But to do it to get, to feel better, it doesn't work, because I know a lot of people that, we all know some people that didn't feel better because they were sad, clinically sad. So it takes a very strong person to survive.
You are a true inspiration.
Really are.
When you first started out then, Did you ever expect you'd be where you are today?
Never.
No?
Never. If you told me that, like, at my age and looking like I do, that I would, you know, have like 1 million views on YouTube because of screaming. What? No way. That is so surreal. That is so surreal. Like I look like a soccer mom or, a PTA little, like a school teacher. Like, somebody said she looks like that kind of mom that's cool and lets you drink in the basement before you're of age, or, it was kind of cool. Well, that's what made it such an interesting story also, because I'm kind of lucky like that. Like, I don't look like someone who's, a screamer. I don't look like that. So it's very surprising to people when I come up with these like sounds. But I couldn't have made this up. Like, you can't make this up, right? This is
blessing, really. It's incredible. It is incredible. Yeah.
So lucky. Just follow the love. I just enjoyed it. It's great.
That's good.
I got to be like kind of a rock star by not being a real rock star.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Great. And I could still eat the chocolate cake. Great.
Oh, I love it. So, also, we were just saying, rock stars are known for being larger than life characters. So have you got any weird and wonderful stories from over the years of experience with these stars that you're allowed to tell anyway?
Oh God, so many. Oh.
That's the answer I was kind of hoping for.
Okay, this is one of my favorites. Randy from Lamb of God was in town for voice lessons, and he had this hobby at the time, I think he still has it, where he collects bull whips. Those are those whips with the tails that, the circus master, those whips, right? And he said, do you know where I could get, I hear you can get everything in New York City. Like, where should I go to find the whips, right? That's the only place I knew was like the sex street, like Christopher Street. I knew they'd have lots of whips there, right? So there we went down to the village, down to Christopher Street. We're going down to these basements shops, and he finds this really amazing looking whip. So we take it up to the counter, right? And the girl goes, so is it for you or is it for her? And I said, it's for both of us. I'm his mother. It was great. That's my favorite, I think.
Incredible.
She was like beet red,
She shit herself, yeah. Oh, that is magical. Oh,
I love that so much.
Oh, and there's some great stuff with Danny Filth. I mean, Danny Filth is the funniest person on earth. And
I've met Danny. Yeah.
When I went to visit with Danny in Lincolnshire, there was this haunted kind of thing going on at the recording studio out in the middle of nowhere. There's a cemetery and a pub and a post office. That's the only thing. And the full moon and the whoo whoo, right? And
very
Danny has this kind of healthy affection for the occult. But it was there was so much Spinal Tap in that visit. It was unbelievable. It was so unbelievable. Like the fact that the drummer, they had to reprogram all the drums because the drummer sent away his drum set to have it dyed the same color of his girlfriend's hair. Right. So,
what?
Stuff like that, little things, they had to they needed to redo the drums, but the drums weren't available. So they had to redo the drums, trigger them with something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just every day was Spinal Tap. Every day was, and it was funny and it was great. And I have so many stories like that.
You
should write a book.
I was going to say that, to be fair. So
and it just gets better and better. It just gets better and better.
Do you travel much then? Obviously, before COVID, do you travel quite a bit with your job?
Most people come through New York, but sometimes in an emergency, I know that I traveled for Matt and Tuck, and I traveled for Oliver Sykes.
Yeah.
But usually it's like they're always coming through here at some point, right? And it's better for me to do it in my space because I've got my grand piano and I've got all my toys and everything. So I like to do it. Zoom's pretty good. I was already doing Zoom before COVID. So I'm getting, they really do need to beef up the technology with the latency thing. And I know, I cannot, there's certain things I can't do on Zoom, and that is I cannot play and at the same time as the student. So I have to there's ways I get around that, but I wish that, why can't we have that already? Like, why can't we have this thing where I play this note, B, and you could sing it at the same time? Why can't we be in two places at once?
Yeah.
I think it's on the way.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think it's happening. I mean, there are some, softwares for, that people are trying to monetize that kind of take it and, spit it out, but it's very perfunctory and not user friendly and not nice. So, I like to, feel the client in real time. And it's also really hard to teach rhythm this way. So I have to make like little exercise templates that they could do with the recording to me, so I can help them that way. But I can't generate the rhythm, and then because it's off.
Zoom, sort your shit out. What's going on?
You need somebody that can like take away the latency.
Yes.
But I mean, CBS News, the news can't even do it yet. Even on the newscast, they're still like, well, take it away, Bob. And then Bob goes, yes, well, but like, there's always like 5 seconds before Bob says anything.
So good.
Do you have any regular clients who aren't from the rock and metal genre?
Yes, I do. I can't remember who I've got right now, but I've had I had Kevin Bacon once.
What?
An actor. That was funny because
I forgot he did music.
Yeah. Well, his son is a metal kid. And so his son was doing my warm-up exercises, and his dad heard it and said, I want to do those. Those seem really good. So he left me a message. Back then, it was like an answer machine, right? It was He left a message on my answer machine.
Amazing.
He said, hello, my name is Kevin Bacon. I'm an actor. And I'd like to inquire if Melissa's I'm an actor. What? I was like, my name is Kevin Bacon. I'm an actor. Like,
no shit, Sherlock.
So, and he called me back. I mean, I called him back, and then he left me a message. Oh my God, I can't believe you called me yourself. And I was like, dude, I can't believe you called me at all. Like I'm a metal person. You're a movie star. Like, what's up? Like, what do you want? And he was a great client, because I do teach singing. Before I was a screamer specialist, my people would come to me because they couldn't get the Broadway out of their voice. So I had a lot of Broadway performers that sounded too pretty, and they wanted to sort of grit up. And about that time, there was this gritty sound, damaged sound is what that's called, that was getting to be popular. There was Bonnie Tyler, Kim Carnes, Melissa Etheridge. Like, there was this sort of revisiting of raspy voice that happened in the 90s. And so I was kind of like the girl that you go to learn that. And then that just sort of evolved into, the other thing. So I do still teach, like I teach the girl from Monsters and Men from Iceland. I mean, I do teach singers, singers. And, Rob Flynn is becoming a crooner. I kid you not, the guy has an amazing voice. You're going to see something really amazing from the lead singer of Machine Head. And it's going to blow your mind because it's going to sound just like, Eddie Vedder. It's not going to
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's a beauty of a voice. Beauty of a voice. That was the same as David Draiman. I saw David Draiman sing at his wedding. I was like, dude, you can't hide that. You cannot hide that from the world. It was kind of like, back then, it was sissy. It was pussy to like sing well. That would be so like, that would like betray the fans if you sounded nice. So that was like, you would see them, talking happily with a friend, and a fan comes up and says, "Hey man, what's up?" Like there's this kind of posturing with screaming that was very difficult to get over. So I'm really happy to see that, Corey Taylor was always a singer, right? Spencer Chamberlain was always a singer. Even Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die was always a great singer. And David Draiman was always a great singer, but they sublimated that that part of their voice to be in keeping with the brutality of the genre. But I was glad. I was like, this is bullshit, guys. Come on, grow up. Like, that is a beautiful sounding voice. Like, you cannot hide that. And sure enough, The Sound of Silence, like, swept the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, he blew people away with that.
So
Isn't
what makes
that
me laugh
beautiful?
about yeah, that song is unbelievable. What makes me laugh so much about it, though, is people heard that song and went, oh my God, I need to go and buy that album, then had never listened to Disturbed before.
Yes.
So we're like, what is this?
Exactly. Have you heard the new one? He did covered Sting's If I Should Ever Lose My Faith.
I have not heard that, no.
Oh my God.
No,
he's so good. This one's even better than The Sound of Silence.
Really? Okay, I'll listen after this.
Yeah.
Can we just point out, I love the way you dropped the fact that you were at David Draiman's wedding. It was great.
I didn't mean to do that. That sounded really like...
That's all good.
I love it.
We love it.
Now, we've got some questions that are sent in by listeners and stuff, but before I get onto them, Tom, have you got any other questions you wanted to ask?
There's just one. As a massive A Day to Remember fan, in saying this, working with Jeremy McKinnon, I just want to know what that was like, really.
It's like he's so smart, he's so clever, and he's very talented, and he's a really, really hard worker. I've never seen anyone with the stamina that guy has. He has
really
incredible stamina. He did, I hadn't seen him for a while, and then maybe I hadn't seen him for a couple of years, and he came and did a show, and they did 3 records all in a row. They had no support. They took all 3 spots and did 3 different records, and he went straight through and didn't miss a beat. He's amazing.
That's so I love him.
Amazing. And he's so smart. And I said, I can't believe the stamina you have. And he said, it's all because of you. I was like, oh, stop.
It's true. Yeah, it's good. You've cracked the code, Melissa. You've cracked it. You know what. Yeah.
I do. And you know what? It's completely technical. It is all about coordinating breath pressure and vocal fold closure. It's all about the onset. That's all it is. It's very simple. It's not about associating the feelings necessary with the execution of the sound. The feelings have to be separated and go in the heart, and the sound comes. And that's pure old big theater school stuff. That is stuff I learned as in college and even in, music school before. I mean, I've just been studying it since I was a child. So it's all technical, but it's the real gift is the soul.
Yeah.
That's where, and Jeremy McKinnon has an amazing soul.
Oh, that's made me so happy. Thank you.
I think it's safe to say that guy's Tom's dream guest for this podcast.
Yeah. I would not to do it myself.
It's so wonderful that that you love these people, and it's not necessarily the sound of their voice, it's the soul that comes out through that speaks. So that's key to like being able to preserve that, because if I was teaching sounds, then I would be ruining everybody.
Yeah.
And making like these kind of prefabricated, results. We do this or do that, right? I just tell them these are functions. This is function 1, function 2, function 3. Now go out and sing a song and mean it from your heart, right? And then the body memory kind of takes over. That I'll do this, and it's as soon as they stop thinking about volume, it's best, right? Then it becomes. It's not about the thing about screaming is that like there's all this extra like effort being done that has nothing to do with the vocal folds, like like face and everything else. The bass is important, by the way. The bass makes the sound louder. It does. If you do like that, it's much, much more loud.
Plus, it just looks more cool.
Yeah, it does.
Wonderful. We've got some questions from listeners, if you don't mind, as well. Alex Whiteley, he asks, how important do you think it is to accentuate one's accent? Like, does it add something unique and different to an individual's development? The question being stemmed from your work with Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. Like, you can tell that guy is Scottish when he sings,
Oh, yeah. God, do I love that band. I've always loved
so
that
good.
band.
Yeah.
I have loved that band from the very beginning. I think that it's about being real. It's not about the sound. Like there's certain vowels that don't translate as well as others, but it doesn't really matter because you're not going for a good sound. And it's particularly with Simon, it's about being real. Those songs are so good.
The new album is incredible.
I haven't heard it. I can't wait. I saw a live stream the other day, which was phenomenal. So I'm a big Biffy Clyro fan, and I haven't seen him for 20 years. Right?
Oh wow!
I haven't heard from him for 20 years. He was, he was a kind of a raver. Like he wasn't like one of those going to home to practice now. Not one of those kind of guys, right? He was like a real party guy. So, I don't know if I actually helped him or not, but I certainly still love him just as much. I hope I did. And I hope he comes back, but I haven't seen him for quite a long time, but I have major respect.
Wonderful. My friend Andy simply wants to say thank you because he used to be a vocalist in a metal band, and because of the Zen of Screaming, it saved his voice because he really strained himself years ago, and you saved his voice.
I live for that.
Because when I messaged him saying who was coming on the show, he was like, "Oh my God, tell her thank you. She saved my career."
That's my favorite moment is when I get to some band didn't bite the dust because of vocal problems. That's such a pity.
So Gemma Williams asks 2 questions. First off, how sexy is Corey Taylor in real life?
Okay, so I have a kind of maternal thing about Corey Taylor, so I can't go to that place. The thing about Corey Taylor is that he is so vulnerable and so sensitive. To me, I see the tears of a clown. I see the damage of what he went through as a child and as a teenager. And I see so clearly how he is like an open wound, right?
Yeah.
And he's very, and so I see that Corey has a showman finesse. He's a great showman.
Yes, he is.
He's a really good actor, a good showman. And he uses that to cover up some of that pain. So sometimes when I see Corey do his showman thing, I was like, I know what you're hiding. I know how you really feel right now. I'm always looking past because he's always true, but he has this kind of suave presentation skill that is kind of, it's not this, I know that there's deep pain there, that is used to put up a wall, kind of. So I'm always looking at the sensitive child angel behind there because I can feel it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a piece of work. So I don't call that's not sexy. That's just profoundly interesting and fulfilling. You know, of course, you know, I'm a bit of an old dog.
Shut up. Absolute bollocks.
That's no way to talk to our guests.
I don't think I'd be doing the wild thing with Corey Taylor. Anyway, the thing is that a lot of these guys, you know, they have like a kind of, I'm not saying it's sexist. I'm just saying there's a kind of predatory kind of aspect to metal and, you know, groupies and stuff like that. And so that has always been like, you know, kind of, I don't want to be like the girl on the bus, kind of. I always tell like girl singers, like, do not go on the bus unless you're part of the show.
And her second
or you're
question,
asking for it.
her second question was, how do you know when listening to someone sing, like how far the levels of their voice go? Like, how can you tell someone's limits as such?
Limits? There are no limits. That's that we have to get rid of the idea of limits, because that people who think how high can I go and how low can I go are already barking up the wrong tree, because when they say how high, they've got this geographical idea that sound is crawling on the ceiling or sound is, you know, walking on the floor. There's no up there. There's just a faster vibration. There's a slower vibration. So I try to uncover all the mythology about sound itself so that they stop putting these ideas of limitations. Oh, I'm a baritone, I can only go to this. Or range has nothing to do with voice type. You know, range has to do with the length of the vocal tract and also coordination. I mean, you could be a tenor singer and you could have 4 octaves. So that means you could sing low and high, but the quality of your sound would be different, because so there's so many things to unpack about people's ideas. So how can I tell their range, or how can I tell, I think it was that perhaps he was asking how loud they can be, because it's not about being loud. It's not about volume. It's not about high or low. There's this idea of even the word warm up, vocal warm up. That sounds like you're going to do something like cardio, you know, or isometrics, right? Warm up. I'm warming up my voice. Your vocal folds are less than 3 centimeters long, right? So you don't need like gross motor burning calories for a warm up. It's about coordination, right? There's all these like myths about the voice that are, you know, the vocal teaching community hasn't really changed much since the 1800s. Although it's changing now for sure.
That just makes me think of when I met the guy, the singer from Ed Guy. I don't know if you know, but I literally went to talk to him. I was like, oh, he's like, sorry, saving my voice, and walked off. I was like, oh, thanks, mate. Walked around with a towel around his neck. He's like, saving my voice.
Okay, whispering is the worst thing that you could do. When you just whisper, do you realize how, just do that again, say, saving my voice.
Saving my voice. Yeah.
So you're using the muscles in your larynx to say the words. Your mouth is supposed to say the words, not the muscles in your throat. It's like the worst thing. They think that because the sound is less volume, it's less stressful, but there's nothing more stressful than whispering.
I should have known that at the time. Would have gone, bullshit, sir.
Yeah, that's right. I even made signs for people to wear that said, I'm on vocal rest. It has my name. Melissa Cross says, I'm on vocal rest. So if anyone comes up and says, starts talking, they have this sign that says,
that's amazing.
That is so clever.
So Brett Holland asks, what exercises are the best to help with breathing?
I get that question a lot. Okay. First of all, do not think about breathing. If you think about anything, you go, and you stop breathing. See, if you go to that part of the brain that does math problems or judges or conceptualizes, the breathing stops, and that completely puts the sound out of the window. So you cannot think breathing. Singer's breathing is not in, singer's breathing is a balance of like being on top of a pillow. It's almost like an accordion player. He doesn't smash the thing together for every note. He has this tank of air. And then he's like, all the notes are on top of this sort of tank. Well, that's what singer's lungs are. And there's no, because air is not part of the sound. If you put your hand in front of your mouth and you blow on your hand and go, right, you feel air. Yeah. But if you go, there's no air on your hand. Sound is not made of air. Unless it sounds like this. That's airy. But, you know, there's no air in there. So the idea that you need more air for better sound is bullshit. Right? If you have too much air, you're too full and you can't, you know, like this.
I've seen them live.
You know what the best exercise for breathing is? To take the sound of S, as in Sam, and make little S's that go, and feel how you're like on top of air. You're not exhaling, you're not inhale, you're just both. Because in between each S, there's a little air that comes in and out. So there's this interchange of s, 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 and that's how small it is. It's not a giant breath for a giant note. It is an equilibrium of maintaining this steady amount of air in the lungs all the time. So the strength of the voice comes from working what I call the hoo-hoo.
Oh, wow.
The hoo-hoo, and that's like gender fluid because it used to be called dump for guys and baby and something else for ladies, right? But, you know, we had to like stop the gender thing, right?
Yeah.
And so hoo-hoo, everybody's got a hoo-hoo, right? So if you take the sound of S and you start super quietly and you get louder, you start. When you get louder, there's something that happens underneath the waistline that I call hoo-hoo, which is like blowing a balloon in your hoo-hoo. But you can't think about that because that's like thinking about your big toe on the accelerator when you drive. You don't think about your big toe. It's all part of like the whole equation. So there's this sort of balance of strengthening that hoo-hoo muscle, but you have to use it in coordination with a sound. So like getting louder, whoa, okay, so here's the greatest exercise. If you put your hands between your nose and your top lip, and you try to make this like siren sound where you go, yee, yee, yee. When you do that, yee, you feel something fill up in the hoo-hoo area, right? Naturally, right? It's something that when it goes, yee, like it's part of your whole body. You're not using the muscles in your neck and your throat to make that yee. There's something very all encompassing of the entire body when that happens. That's natural. That's what singer's breathing is. It's as natural as it can be. But if you try to like pump your belly and suck in your stomach, and all that is such crap. It's absolute crap. Like, do not try to regulate like breathing because you'll go, wait, what was I supposed to breathe now? I'm holding my breath, trying to think about what I'm supposed to do about breathing. Yeah. It's like, so that the strengthening the hoo-hoo muscle, if you take the sound of T and D, so you have, if you go t and then go d, so you have t, d, t, d, t, d, t, d, t, d, t, d, t. I can do that forever, right? And after about 20 times, it starts to ache a little bit. That's the singer mojo. That's the singer muscle, is that feeling of like contraction below the waist, but you can't do it out of context.
Beautiful.
I can't think of a better way to end our questions than that, really. Can you? And how to strengthen your hoo-hoo area is wonderful.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, we really should mention properly the Zen of Screaming. Please tell our listeners what exactly it is and where they can find it. And
Oh, okay. So the Zen of Screaming recently is now a digital download at store.melissacross.com. Now you can buy it on Amazon and you can buy it in music stores. That's through a distribution agreement that I have with worldwide with Alfred Music. And unfortunately, that way is only via a DVD. So not everybody has a DVD player that's working anymore. So I had to get with the times. However, I found a much better way to teach than the DVD, because this is absolutely dynamic, new information, one-on-one, online. I'm doing classes, and I figured out a way to offer like the same technique that I offer everybody, the same knowledge, but I can do it in a group setting for a fraction of the price. So they are basics that everybody has to learn before before you have any success. There are moving parts that need to be coordinated, and that can be taught in a group, on a group way. I figured that out. So those classes, they happen every couple of months. It's 13 hours of class for literally the price of 1.5 private lessons, right? You get 13 hours.
Wow.
And so it's everything. It's the exercises. It's everything. But I'm on one-on-one in Zoom. So anybody who wants to work on an exercise, it's amazing. They come and work on the exercise and people listen and they learn from me working with them. It's even better than private because you hear somebody else struggling what you are struggling with. And they go,
Yeah.
oh. So that is working out really well. That's called Speak, Sing, Scream. And what I do is I address the speaking voice, the technique in the context of a speaking voice. So you don't have to worry about pitch matching or screaming or anything stylistic. It's just brass tacks. Like this is breathing. This is placement. This is blah, blah, blah. And then it goes into the singing class because that's how you start getting into the resonance stuff. But it's really easy because it's all about physical feelings that you just imagine. It's not technical. It's just imaginative. And then the people that do the speak and the sing class, the screaming class is a piece of cake. The people who go straight into the scream class, because you can take these one at a time in any order that you want. But the people that do the speak class before the scream class, it's a piece of cake. You do just scream because you don't have those basics. It's very difficult. It's difficult because you're going to be imitating because you don't have the steering wheels. You're just like doing imitations. So this is a whole paradigm change of being sound as opposed to making sound. And that's why it's called the Zen of, because Zen is being in the moment. So instead of singing awe, I am going to be in awe by going, awe, like I am the awe. I'm holding up like a teepee and it's a awe, and I'm not listening to my voice because I'm communicating something that's much more abstract, and that's what I'm feeling. So I try not to choreograph my voice, but I try to like keep the channels open so that it's not judged and calculated or contrived. See, honesty is the best. That's
Always
the best.
love it. Always is.
That's why you like Jeremy McKinnon.
My boy.
He tells
Wonderful.
the truth, man. He tells the truth.
Melissa, where can people find you on the internet, the old social medias, etc.?
Okay, so the classes and the DVD are at store.melissacross.com. And on Instagram, it's called @Zen of Screaming. And on Twitter, it's @Melissa Cross. And, Facebook, there's the Melissa Cross Vocal Studio. And then I think there's 2 or 3 Facebook accounts. They're all full. I'm so bad at it. I get, somebody else usually does the Facebook thing because I fall into the Facebook hole. If I check my Facebook messages, I like, whoa, here we go. Bye day, goodbye evening, see ya. I'm all like completely like, oh, look over here. I become so ADD on Facebook that I have to get somebody else to do most of the Facebook. But I'm a big Instagram, Twitter person.
Wonderful.
So,
I just want to
And
say,
I know Discord, and I'm going to do TikTok, and I'm also going to do a Twitch thing. So I'm trying to figure out how to do easy one-on-one access, question and answer on Twitch, and then do the clinics on Zoom. And, I'm just figuring out a way to make it easier to get access to good information.
I love
Beautiful.
it. So just wanted to say, we spoke to Lena Scissorhands from Infected Rain on this show.
Oh, I love Lena.
And she brought you to our attention, and I'm so glad she did, because you've been an absolute wonderful guest. Thank you so much for joining us today. It means the world. You've been amazing.
Oh, you're fun. You're fun.
Oh, thank
you.
Yeah, you guys are fun. I listened to a podcast before. I said yes. I was like, yeah, definitely. I love these.
Oh,
guys.
amazing. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. We endeavour. We try.
Yeah,
But
you're very
yeah.
funny.
Melissa, thank you so much for coming on. It means so
Thank
much
you.
to us, and we really appreciate it.
It really does.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
It's been an absolute blast, as always.
Never change. You are fucking incredible.
Thank you so much.
So much. Say bye.
Have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Bye.
Be safe, please. Be safe.
Yeah, you too. You
And
too.
you,
Definitely.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Hey there, I'm Frank Guglielmelli, and I'm the narrator for the audio drama Feed, featuring such audio dramas as Bounty Hunters, Marty and Mars, Val Toby, and so much more. You can find all of these wonderful programs on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you can go to our website at www.audiodramafeed.com. We are thrilled to be affiliated with the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.